What is up? What is up? What is up, everybody? Let us fire it up. I'm going to get so owned in this game. It's time that we get to the Steam Top 50 and seeing what the latest trends are. Gary's mod. There's TF2. It's usually around somewhere. Woo! Oh, it's snakes. Does it just have really high retention? This genre is still viable. Or you just gotta shoot his butt. There was kind of a trend for a while. Like that is just the way things work. We did it! What is up, chums? Happy Friday to you all. So yeah, today should be fun. It's not often that we get to talk about games launched by people who are viewers of the Clark Tank. And so we're going to get to talk about Hopfrog's game Forager today, which is kicking serious butt. So that is super exciting. So since we're going to be talking about Forager, why don't we start things off by watching the Forager trailer. So yeah, this trailer shows a lot of combat-y stuff first, and then it gets to like the farming and the resource gathering. I guess there was a bit of resource gathering right at the start. Gazitter did most of the art. Well, it is super cute. Yes, Hopfrog is the dev of Forager. This is the trailer made for Steam audience. I see. What was the goal with these other trailers? Were they new ones for launch, or were they from before? Shell in the Pit to the music. Oh, right. I think I knew that they did that trailer for you.
That's right. Sacrifice the
This is more of
fruits of your labor.
Story-based one. I haven't seen this one before.
Depths and be grandly rewarded.
Going to use it for
Looks
Switch.
like you're well on your way, friend. Good luck to you, and happy foraging.
Yeah, that looks like it would be good for use as an intro cinematic or something like that to the game. I'm not sure if you have that in yet, or you're planning to put it in for Switch, as you said. How do you find story trailers like this do for games? Yeah, that's a good question, Velveties. I think it's a mistake that a lot of indie devs do on Kickstarters or sometimes in their store page trailers, is that they show all of the story, the backstory, and things like that, all the cool, world-building stuff that they've crafted, and they're really proud of it. But the problem is, I think that people don't usually care about your backstory until they care about the game. Unless it's like a game that's just about the story, then perhaps it would be okay. No one cares about the weird fantasy history thing that you've done, at least not initially. So yeah, leading with that, I think, is probably not wise. So yeah, Hopfrog saying, especially for Steam, they want action. Yeah, I agree. I think they want, and not just action, but like emotion. You got to try to figure out how to get them to feel something, hopefully excitement and, desire to play the game. But, any emotion at all is better than no emotion. And a lot of trailers, they just kind of like, we're just showing you the features. Here are the things that are in the game, rather than trying to, have any sort of build-up, any sort of, mystery or suspense, those sorts of things. So yeah, I would recommend, if you're gonna do a story trailer, then do it later. Don't show it as the first one on your store page. So yeah, I think this is correct. If people are like pumped about your first trailer, then they can watch the story one, which is great. Kerbal Space Program cinematics went really well after the game was established. Yeah, exactly. Well, I think a really good example of that is Clay with what's it called? Oxygen Not Included. They're doing super cool animated shorts. They put them out for their updates, and people love those things. I think they do similar stuff for Don't Starve as well, and people love that stuff because they're already into the game, and they're probably going to be sharing it and stuff on social media if they're huge fans of the game. So I think that can work for you, but only after people care so much about your game that they're gonna get hyped about it all over social media. Yeah, but let's keep going on Forager. There's more Forager stuff to talk about. So yeah, I saw this article talking about the difficulties that were faced during development, and yeah, I think a lot of indies can relate to this. But yeah, one of the most interesting things in this was that you were saying a lot of marketing has been geared toward your personal brand, so you tell the dev story a lot. Yeah, and I saw when I booted up the game, I haven't played it yet, I just booted it up to make sure that it ran, but that, like, you've got an image of you saying, I worked hard on this, I hope you like it, right at the start, which is very smart, I think, because it is, largely you making this game, and if you can get people to sympathize with you right off the bat, I think they're much more likely to think Oh, there was a person that put this here, there's a person that did that. And especially if they happen to get frustrated or there's a bug or something like that, they'll be like, well, it was that guy at the start, he seems nice, I should be forgiving, right? So I think it's very clever. There was actually a talk at GDC. It was Bennett Foddy and Zach Gage, I believe it was the two of them, suggesting that you put your name on your game, that you like make indie dev more personal. Oh, you added your face to the intro 30 minutes after you saw the talk, Hopfrog? That's awesome. Well, I'm sure that Bennett and Zach would be pleased to know that. But yeah, it totally works. And yeah, another thing in here. So yeah, it was because of a game jam, and then you won a trip to go to the USA, and it sounds like you met John Polson from Humble, and yeah, John is an awesome guy, and then got a publishing deal that helped to fund the rest of the development of the game. So I talk a lot on the Clark Tank about getting out there and networking and things like that, and it's difficult for a lot of us who are pretty introverted. It can also be difficult if you're not from North America or if you don't have the money to travel. But yeah, there are things like this. There are competitions you can enter. There are things that you can win. And you never know what's going to come from opportunities like that. And as I've always said, they snowball for sure. Like now that Mariano has gone out and met people from Humble and met folks in the States. If he went to other shows, you'd go to GDC and things like that, he would know other people now, and they would introduce him to more and to more. And also the fact that Forager is doing well, it makes it easier to converse with folks. Yeah, it always seems like, oh, that was a 1 in 100 or 1 in 1,000 chance, but if you take 1,000 chances, then one of those 1 in 1,000 chances is quite likely to occur, right? So, and yeah, another cool thing that I wanted to talk about regarding Forager, trying to figure out why is it done so well, right? What are the factors that have led to its success? The other game you were making at the time was a local multiplayer. Oh, I see. Thanks to Clark Tank, I pivoted into making Forager. Oh, I'm glad to hear that, because yes, local multiplayer, especially if it doesn't have any online component at all, those things it's really tough, a really tough sell. You have to be like Towerfall, right? So yeah, I think one of the things that helped Forager do so well, at launch, lots of people were streaming it, but even before launch, a lot of people were playing it on YouTube. So you must have been distributing builds to various folks through, closed betas or open betas and things like that over a long period of time. But like, look, each one of these is a day. And you had days back in last August, where people were, viewing your content on YouTube 1 million times, which is pretty nuts. These types of numbers are pretty big. They must have been serious YouTubers if you were getting this. And even this, it seems so much smaller, but still hundreds of thousands of views per day. This must have been helping you build up all those wish lists. Then you get back up to 700K, and then big spikes in March up to 2 millions, and then after launch, it's many, many millions. So I think Forager, that trailer that you made is a good trailer, but I do think that Forager, part of its success is the type of game that it is. It does feel a bit like a top-down Terraria, and obviously there was tons and tons of YouTubers who were into that game, and also those games have extremely high retention. So if you can get even just one, really popular YouTuber or streamer hooked on your game, if every time they put a video out it's 1 million users or 1 million views, and they're putting out a whole series, then that's going to have a massive impact for you, right? You notice that everyone tag on Discord converts slightly better than newsletters. You try to funnel people into Discord. That's smart. But yeah, it definitely seems like this was a big factor in your ability to pile up wish lists. And we always saw that on the top wish list charts, Forager was like above Industries of Titan, even though Industries of Titan has a ton of wish lists as well. So yeah, I was not too surprised to see Forager spike really high at launch, and we will see is still quite high in the chart. So yeah, I expected, because of the wish list numbers that you had, I expected to see it, start out really high, but I wasn't sure if it would stick around. You need to have really high retention in order to stick around, and it appears that you do also have really high, above average retention, that's for sure. You started reaching out to YouTubers, smaller ones at first, and integrated on the game based on what made them create funny situations. I see. So those giant vegetables beats are there for content creators to interact with. I see. With Necrodancer, when we were in early access, we actually even before early access, we gave the game to a variety of streamers and YouTubers, and whenever they streamed, I would just watch them. It's like free playtesting. First of all, like sometimes there's bugs, and I found them, but also like, you know, we could see how the balance was. Where were they getting frustrated? Where were they having the most fun? Which items did they like the most? Which items did they just, you know, toss aside? That sort of stuff. We changed the game in ways that we wouldn't have without that input. You know, we had a plan for what we wanted to do before we launched the game, but we adjusted it a lot based on what we saw people doing. So yeah, doing this sort of thing, allowing people to play it before you launch is really, really smart, I think, because it guarantees that at launch you've figured out basically the sales pitch for your game. Like, what do people enjoy about it when they play it? You know, because you've watched a lot of them play and you've managed to, you know, hone it and refine it to make sure that those strengths are amplified. But yeah, a few things that happened in the last few weeks. Tencent stealth launched WeGame, the international version of it. So prior to this, if you weren't aware, Tencent had a gaming platform, a PC gaming platform in China only called WeGame, and now they're sort of doing a slow launch of that in the rest of the world, which is interesting. It'll be worth keeping an eye on for all of us for sure, because Tencent is a huge player in the game industry, and you know we can see what Epic is doing with their store, and you know Epic is partially funded or partially invested in owned by Tencent, and so what could Tencent themselves do if they wanted to throw their weight around? It's going to be interesting to see. If there's one thing gaming needs, it's more storefronts. Well, yeah, I can see that gamers might not be happy about this sort of thing, because what if Tencent tries to get exclusives and things like that in the same way that Epic Game Store has been? But for devs, it just means that we have more companies competing for our content, which means that, you know, the amount of income we can expect from game projects goes up, which means that we can make better projects and expand and try more experimental things. So I do think that it's good for games in general. The thing about Tencent Epic is Epic Game Store will never launch in China. Oh, has that been confirmed somewhere? I was not aware of that. Yeah, that would make sense, I suppose, if they decided, all right, in China we will have WeGame, and everywhere else we'll have Epic Game Store. That was confirmed when Epic Game Store launched. Oh, very interesting. The other angle to this is that Tencent is invested in just about everybody. So perhaps it's not out of character for them to spin up another basket to stick eggs in. Yeah, well, especially if the two storefronts have different modes of operation. Because, you know, if one of them is going hard on exclusives and the other, you know, maybe goes more first-party content or something like that, then maybe they're not really competing with each other. They're just different ways of trying to break into the PC gaming market. So, but moving on, we got a few other things to talk about before we do our homework. And yeah, Tom Francis, if you're not already following him on the Twitter, you should be certainly following him. He is the creator of Gunpoint and Heat Signature, and now working on Tactical Breach Wizards. And yeah, he has some tips for developers, stuff that he realized that, you know, some more experienced indie devs like himself know about, but others who are new might not be aware of. So he wrote this article, so I just wanted to go through the points that he makes. So yeah, we talk about this a lot on the Clark Tank. Wishlists matter a lot. So, get your store page up as early as possible. And yeah, we've talked about this too. Like, you don't want to put your store page up so early that you don't really have anything to show. I would personally wait until you have a trailer, or at least extremely good screenshots. And your trailer doesn't need to be like a high production value trailer. It could be a Tom Francis style trailer. Which, what he does is he just plays the game, his game, and talks about it for a few minutes and points out what's interesting about it and why it's cool. And I think that style of trailer both works really well for a certain type of game, the type of game where there's complex interactions that you might not understand, if you just watch the action, if you just watch gameplay. So someone explaining to you what's happening and why that's cool is really good. But also, it's really good because it doesn't cost a lot to make them. Yeah, obviously wishlists matter a lot because when you launch, all of those people who are wishlisted, who have the game wishlisted, they're going to get a notification that you are now live. And yeah, you want to have a big spike on launch day for a variety of reasons. I do think that that Valve, the Steam algorithm, does favor games that have had a strong launch. I don't think it's necessarily that they look for games with good launches and reward those. It's rather that they look for games that are selling and that are getting attention from outside sources, and they say, oh, this must be interesting, and we will drive more traffic there to see how well it does. And if your conversion rate for that traffic that they drive to you is good, then why wouldn't they continue to drive that traffic to you? Exiting early access qualifies a game for front page, new and trending lists, which is great if you can get there. Yeah, that's true, Quixote. It used to be, I'm pretty sure, that early access games also got some of that front page coverage, and now they don't really. All right, let's keep moving on. As a developer, you have magic tagging powers. So yeah, this is definitely something that not everyone is aware of, but if you go to your Steam store page for your game, there are tags, all the different user-defined tags here that are associated with this Halo game, and these are, users can add these. Users can add whatever they want as a tag to any game, and often they do it in ways that are kind of frustrating. They give you tags that don't actually match, but you can also tag your own game, and if you do, it seems to have more of an impact than when users tag your game. So yeah, a lot of devs have said that they've seen a boost in traffic to their store page after tagging their own games. A few words of warning: supposedly, you shouldn't just tag your game with every tag possible. If you spread your tags out too much, then you might be lower down on the list for that tag because you have so many tags. It's probably better to only just tag the ones that really do make sense for your game. And if you do, you will see a bit more traffic from those tag pages and from other pages on Steam. So yeah, make sure if you haven't already done it, go log into Steam with the account that owns the game and tag your own game. And only do it for tags that really are relevant. Giving testers a beta key takes the game off their wish list. So, and if you do that and give somebody a Steam key for a game that's not launched and they have it wishlisted, it's going to take it off their wish list. So if you were planning on, not updating that build or that branch that you gave them the key for, and you're hoping that they would buy the 1.0 version of the game in the future, they are probably going to be less likely to buy because they've had it removed from their wish list, which is a bummer. So yeah, there's other ways of doing that. You can set up a separate app, or you can use systems that are not on Steam to distribute your games. So yeah, your more stuff from Tom Francis here. Your user review rating doesn't affect visibility unless it's mostly negative or worse. This number here and this text. Apparently the algorithm that decides where to send the eyeballs on Steam doesn't directly look at this percentage, this 83%, 76% or whatever. It doesn't pay attention to that until you get below a certain threshold. So until it's mostly negative or worse, and then it might start turning off the taps in some ways, perhaps. Obviously, even when you get to mostly negative, it doesn't completely turn off the taps because there's all kinds of AAA games that sell like crazy that have extremely negative reviews. So, it probably has some effect, but it's not a massive effect. It doesn't just completely wipe out your ability to sell. Valve is not just out to strip mine the industry and make as much money as they can. But still, it is a business and they want to generate profit. And the best way to do that is to send the eyeballs to the games that are converting the best. Indies, I think, don't pay as much attention to conversion rate as they should, because, I'm certain that the Steam algorithm pays attention to it. Like, there's no way that it doesn't. So when they send eyeballs to your page, you want to make sure that your page is, maximally able to convert those eyeballs into sales. Because the better your page is at doing that, the more eyeballs are going to come your way because of the algorithm. You should think about designing your store page. Like, let's look at what we did with Necrodancer. The most important thing of all is your trailer, of course, and it should, it should hit hard, and in the first 5 seconds, you get people to pay attention. So that's part of the reason why in this trailer we show you some of our accolades really quickly. We just here, let's watch the beginning of it. All our laurels, and then we get to the gameplay. So there's pumping music, there's accolades and things like that early on to try to get people to stop. If they're browsing, their discovery queue or something like that, we want them to, hey, stop, pay attention to this thing. It's got awards and stuff, and the music, if they have the music turned on, is pretty high energy, so hopefully catch their attention. Then this image and this text are extremely important. With the text, you want to try to sell the sizzle, not the steak, that sort of thing. We have merch and stuff on here. I think it makes our brand seem more legit. The fact that we have merch, like for games that don't sell well, they're not going to have a couple different kinds of shirts. And then, you can have images rather than just a bunch of text. Like, this is much more compelling. But animated GIFs and stuff, even better. Small bits of text, trying to explain to people why in point form, you don't want huge paragraphs that they're not going to read. Why in point form they should care about the game. I do think review score is important, and you should certainly try to maximize it by making, as good of a game as possible, as bug-free of a game as possible, and respond to, people's negative reviews of your game. When people post negative reviews down here, we try to respond to them, because often you can solve the problem for them, and then they'll be very appreciative, and they'll be like, hey, thanks for actually talking to me and listening to me and solving the problem. And that will improve your user score rating, but also just generates goodwill. Anyway, conversion rate, it's important to pay attention to it. It's kind of the old school thing that we used to do a lot, and devs don't think about it as much anymore. But it has a huge impact on how your game's going to sell. The release date you set in Steamworks is important, even if you hide it. So yeah, when you set up your coming soon page, it's going to ask you for a release date. And yeah, it does do things. So Tom's telling you to set it for 3019, set it for way in the future so you don't have to worry about it. Some devs have been kind of trying to game the system, though, by changing their date so that it always looks like their game, is a week out or a month out or something like that. It's going to launch soon, and I think that is unwise. It makes sense that Steam's algorithms would give a bit more visibility to games that are coming out soon. So that's why it's gameable, is because, if you keep saying, yeah, we're coming out soon, then you get a bit more visibility because of it. But I'm sure that Valve doesn't like when people game it like that. I think it's disingenuous, and it's, you're taking those views from other people's games who actually are launching soon. So I think it's not a nice thing to do. But also, if you're risking being branded as, someone who cheats the system, which I think is risky and not smart. So Steam's visibility algorithms are trying to amplify external interests. So yeah, Lars wrote an article about this. Lars got a lot of traffic from an outside source, which was a Total Biscuit video about his game, and he analyzed how much traffic came from that video versus how much traffic came from other pages from within Steam. The vast majority of the traffic came from inside Steam. So Steam is trying to detect, there's something going on with this game. There was an update, or people are talking about it today. Why? And they're trying to capitalize on perhaps the increased conversion rate that may come along with that. And yeah, so it just shows that driving external traffic to Steam amplifies your visibility on Steam, which is pretty cool. So yeah, what Tom is suggesting here is that you maximize external interest in your Steam page on launch day. So yeah, doing things like trying to get the press to all post their articles on the same day, trying to get YouTubers and streamers and stuff like that all to stream it on the same day. Along with that is, don't do pre-orders. Pre-orders spread out your launch sales, Tom asked Valve if it maybe wasn't important to have the big spikes of sales on launch day, and they said that it still is important to have that launch day spike. I had not heard them confirm that launch day spike theory before. And I think it may be, again, not something that the algorithm is intentionally trying to reward. They don't have some code in there saying, if launch day spike, then send fire hose of eyeballs at the game. There's nothing like that. It's probably more an indirect result of a bunch of other rules, and it just so happens that because of those rules, the way that they work, a launch day spike is rewarded. So I think the rule here would be that if you do pre-orders and the pre-orders dilute your launch so much that your launch spike is not high enough, like if you don't get to number 1 or near number 1 on your launch day, then the pre-orders may have hurt you in the long run. It's impossible for you to know exactly if that's going to be the case. You just have to kind of guess, like, is my game so big and does it have so much hype that despite doing pre-orders, I'm still going to be number 1 on launch day? And if you're confident that that's the case, then pre-orders probably are okay for you to do. But I think most indies, like pretty much every indie, that's not going to be the case. I would not expect it to be the case for us at Brace Yourself. So, and then think carefully about early access. So, not saying don't do it, but this is a reason to think twice. It gives you 2 smaller launches, and that may cause you to fare worse with the algorithm. And my answer to that, and same with early access, is always like, how much ammo, how much power do you think that your game has? Will the press pay attention to 3 different press beats? Or are they only going to pay attention to 1? If they're only going to pay attention to 1, you should focus all of your efforts on your single launch. But you don't want to spread, your power too thin over all 3 of those, because again, you want a spike on launch day. So I think it's somewhat similar with early access. Do you think you'll have enough power to have a strong launch at early access and also a strong 1.0 launch? But it's also a question of how well suited is your game to early access, and are you planning to do regular, like monthly or weekly or bi-weekly updates? And is it the type of game that can be very replayable, that have a lot of content added to it, maybe be moddable, that sort of thing? Then it's much more suited to early access. But if it's not, then yeah, I would steer clear from it. So yeah, for us it made a lot of sense. I don't think it makes sense for every single game. It depends on the game and how you intend to continue to work on it and promote it. So yeah, thanks Tom Francis for putting this list together. All right, a few more bits of news before we get to our homework. So Sony reveals the first PlayStation 5 details. Backwards compatibility with the PlayStation 4. That's so cool. I'm so glad that they're doing that. Yeah, it's been a while since we've had a new console generation, so every time this happens, there are opportunities for indies because they want to have as much content available at launch as possible, of course. They don't want to launch a console with like no games that you can play. Who's going to buy that? And there's usually a role for indies to play in such scenarios because they'll have some big AAA exclusives, of course. They'll have first-party titles, made by Sony's various studios, of course. But still, that's going to be a handful of games. So I'm sure that they are, at least in the past few generations, indies have had opportunities to get in there at launch and be a part of launches where there's not very much on the system yet. And so if you can get in there and make a deal like that, you can get a lot of attention and eyeballs sent your game's way. And you may even be able to negotiate deals for exclusivity if you make it, a PS5 exclusive or something like that. This is a time where indies should be out there networking and stuff and going to conventions and talking to platform holders and developers of consoles because there's a new generation coming and they might be able to benefit from that. All right, a few more things to talk about. So yeah, Mike Rose was discussing that Descenders, one of the games that No More Robots is publishing, has done really well on the Discord store, which that goes counter to everything I've heard about how well things sell on the Discord store. this I think is the first time that I've heard anybody say that, you know, it's 5 times humble or GOG or something like that. Now, it may be because they focus, I know Microse focuses a lot on Discord itself as a marketing vehicle, as an engagement vehicle for their games. So it makes a lot of sense that his games in particular would benefit well from Discord, but I have not heard too many other devs say it. Yeah, Discord is certainly huge, but if you go to the Discord website and try to find the store, try to find where do you buy the games, it's not easy. If they exposed games, if they tried to push games more to their core audience, then yeah, I agree, they could probably generate a lot of sales, but it doesn't seem to be a priority for them, at least not at the moment. So, but yeah, speaking of alternate store fronts, Epic buys Rocket League developer Psyonix and strongly hints it will stop selling the game on Steam. And yeah, this is a massive deal, especially if they decide to stop selling it on Steam, because so many people still play it, and I imagine will continue to play it. And if they keep updating it, like, are they going to stop updating it on Steam? That would definitely create, number one, an uproar, but number two, incentive for people to, all the Rocket League fans, to go over to the Epic Store. But yeah, that would certainly create an uproar. If they pulled it from Steam, I suspect, free to play. That is a good point. Yeah, if they pulled it from Steam and said, okay, we're only updating it on Epic Store now, but you got to pay again to buy it on Epic Store, then people would lose their minds because they've already paid for it once, and now they're not getting the updates. But yeah, if they go free, then that would certainly help put a dent in the uproar that might occur. And this is a new tool that a viewer posted, tracking followers and release dates, similar to some of the stuff that Harbor has been looking at it, but it looks like it views it in a different way, and it can show trends since launch. Okay, yeah, I guess the colors are for review score. Yeah, good point. And yeah, it's neat that you can see the trend on things like Forager. It looks like it's showing the trend since launch day, trend in reviews and in followers. All right, Hopfrog saying Forager was 108,000 wishlists on release, 170,000 a week before, and it sold 25k units on day one, 100k week one, 200k week two. Yeah, those are awesome results. Congrats. That is ridiculous. You mean your results are higher than expected based on your wishlist numbers? I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case, because your game has really high retention and it seems like it's very sticky. So I think your game has higher than average retention, therefore you're sticking around in the charts better than an average game would. So yeah, these are the types of games that we should be checking out, because obviously if this many people are following them, they're in the zeitgeist. So Impure to Rome, we're going to see that in the top charts for sure. The Crew 2 demo. What even is this game? Crew 2 is one of those games with a fantastic trailer that can't live up to the game. Yeah. We see those every now and then. Yeah, this trailer is pretty sweet. As soon as that car jumped off the cliff and turned into an airplane, like, is that actually something you can do in the game? Anyway, quite the trailer. But yeah, mixed reviews. Yeah, I wonder, are any of you aware what they're complaining about? Little to see on the map. Upgrade system is bad. Okay, it doesn't sound like technical issues. It just sounds like the gameplay. All right, U-Boat. This one was a little surprising. I saw this one when it came out. It's doing quite well. One of those hardcore try to make it as realistic as possible simulations. Although that U-Boat looked a little bit more spacious than I would expect. Uh-oh, filling up with water. U-Boat top seller in Germany, of course. Yeah, well, that cutaway view did make it look a little bit like a management game. But yeah, there certainly is a niche on Steam of people who like, hardcore simulations of various military devices. Oh, and Mordhau. Let's check out the trailer for this. So this one is dominating since it launched. So yeah, is this just like Chivalry, basically? But an updated but better version of Chivalry is kind of what I've been hearing. I haven't checked. I imagine a lot of people are streaming this if it's doing this well. Oh, you can actually, like, joust. Anyway, yeah, not especially surprising that this is doing well. Games like this certainly have been known to do well on Steam, so yeah, it's pretty awesome pixel art. And this game just has really good... It looks like the combat feels really good. I have not played it. The trailer is a bit slow. Yeah, it feels like it's trying to give you the feels rather than like nostalgic sort of vibe rather than hype action vibe, which is an interesting choice. But yeah, with synth-wavy, cyberpunky games, it is a lot about the feels, and the music like that and those visuals and the color palette and whatnot can give you those. Already 2,000 reviews in just a couple weeks. It's doing extremely well. Alright, let's check out the Steam Top 50 and then get moving so we can play some Forager. Alright, so we already checked out Mordhau. Yeah, it's just been #1 with a bullet since it launched. Not too surprising from what I've been hearing about it. CSGO is always around. PUBG, Warframe, these are all not surprising. Dark Souls up here because it's on sale. GTA 5 a little higher than normal. I wonder if that means that competition is a little weaker right now. Elder Scrolls, Rainbow Six, all the usual suspects, and then Human Fall Flat's on sale. Risk of Rain. Holy freaking smokes, man. It's been over a month. It's just been sitting there in the top 10. They're just making money hand over fist. It is crazy. Risk of Rain hit 1 million sales. Insane. Yeah, Risk of Rain. Rocket League. Did it climb after the announcement? I don't remember when that announcement was made exactly. Or was it negatively affected by it? U-Boat, we talked about. Monster Hunter World up here because it's on sale. Mortal Kombat. It's dropped off a decent amount. It's kind of surprising. You know, it's a new world we live in now. Mortal Kombat, you know, one of the best known games of all time. You know, it's a very recognizable brand. But these days, you know, it can be outcompeted by indie game made by a very small team. Came out way earlier and is selling better. It's a different world we live in. I think it's awesome. Again, I say this all the time, but I think it's extremely important to repeat it. You don't need to have a huge team. You don't need to make an insanely massive game or whatever to sell really well. I don't know what the team size was for Risk of Rain 2, but I don't think it was huge. And they've made like 20 million bucks in a month. So why do you need to have a 100-person, 200-person team? You just need to be making the right kind of game. If you make the right decisions, if you analyze, you know, the industry, what sells, what doesn't, and make the right choices, you come up with the right game designs. PC Building Simulator, we checked this out on a previous Clark Tank. It's pretty awesome. Dota 2, Sekiro, Arma, all these things not surprising. Football Manager and Dragon Ball on sale, not surprising. Spellforce must have been on sale and now it's dropping off. Okay, Rise of Industry doing pretty well since it launched. I wonder how much of that is due to its stream being on the front page. If any of you have done any of those streams, Steam streams, and got on the front page, it'd be cool if you could share your visibility stats, like seeing where the traffic was coming from on Steam and how much of it is actually coming from that front page slot. And here's Forager by our pal Hopfrog, who's in the chat. Star Wars Battlefront. So, just came out a couple days ago. Why is it? This is the classic version of it. Still, let me see what the trailer actually looks like. Battlefront, fight the greatest battles in Star Wars universe any way you want to. The choice is yours. That's a very short. Usually people fill up that entire space, but Black Desert, it's Dead by Daylight. Okay, Total War 3 Kingdoms. It's coming out in a few weeks. It's already pretty high in the charts despite this being pre-orders. Oh man, giant battles like that are so cool. Another entry in the Total War series and looks pretty awesome. Resident Evil's on sale. World of Warships. Yeah, it's been climbing up. Civ 6, Total Active Battle Simulator, Final Fantasy's on sale. For Honor. It hasn't... Was it in the charts last Clark Tank? Is this just because people are playing this because of Mordhau is like reminding them that they like this kind of game? I don't remember, or was it just on sale and ended? Our Total War Warhammer was usually around in the charts somewhere. I wonder if it's going to get a spike from the other game coming out. Assassin's Creed, here we go, Imperator Rome. Wow, it has fallen very quickly. Only coming out a week ago. Let's check out the trailer. I haven't actually watched the trailer yet. Not a bad trailer. I feel like
question my loyalty to the Republic.
Paradox Games, I feel like they do better when they do Tom Francis style trailers. Yeah, that trailer looks pretty sweet. I think there's tons of people hyped for this game, but just not happy with what it delivers, which I'm kind of surprised. Why would Paradox launch it? Like, did they not know? Or did they launch it anyway? Like, did they not know, which is kind of surprising, which, you know, maybe means that the way that they playtest and stuff is, you know, flawed, or people are telling them what they want to hear, or they're just so fanboyish or whatever that they would just like anything. Or is it just that they chose to launch it anyway, that it would be too hard to fix? I'm not really sure what the problems people have with it are. Maybe they're unfixable design problems, in which case I guess it would make some more sense. But all right, let's keep moving on. So yeah, that was one of the big launches since the last Clark Tank, and yeah, a bit surprising that it's already this far down the charts. Path of Exile, not surprising. All right, Pandemic Express. What is this? It's weird that they wouldn't, you know, lead with the fact that this is about zombies and that you're trying to infect people. Has there even been a zombie? These people with the glowing heads are zombies? Not your typical zombie. Yeah, it's not doing insanely well. It's fairly far down the chart for having just launched, but that trailer does not give you the hook, which is like you're both trying to, you know, kill the zombies, but if you turn into a zombie, then you're trying to infect people. Rage 2. Okay, this is coming out in a couple weeks.
Let's talk.
It's got some Mad Max-iness to it for sure. Yeah, perhaps surprising that this isn't even higher in the charts, if anything. Obviously, a lot of money has gone into that. So now let's see if this can beat Risk of Rain 2. Like, again, it could lose to Risk of Rain 2. And the team size, the amount of money that they put into it. Let's see, next Clark Tank, this will be out. Next Clark Tank is, yeah, it'll have been out for a week or so. Let's see if after a week it's beating Risk of Rain 2. Alright, War Thunder is usually around. Hat in Time's up here because it's on sale. Skylines is usually around. These are on sale. Crit Spell just came out. The negative reviews. Chronicles is on sale. Last Epoch. Epoch. It's only got Through Time. It's only got Announcer Man going for it. They don't even have Announcer Man. Very Path of Exile. But yeah, doing reasonably well. Came out a few days ago. So ARPGs still viable. Like, this doesn't seem especially hooky. So yeah, no amazing hook on it. The combat looks nice and stuff, but it's not like AAA quality quite. So yeah, despite those things, it's doing reasonably well in the charts. So yeah, if you made an ARPG that was actually really innovative and hooky, you could probably kick some serious ass. So NBA, so this was one of the prime examples of, we were talking before about how negative reviews don't really kill your visibility on Steam. You know, as soon as you get into mostly negative, then supposedly the algorithm punishes you somewhat. But obviously that punishment is not too great, because NBA 2K19 and 2K18 before it was very negative and yet still sold really well. Alright, TF2, not surprising. Stardew, Divinity is just on sale. Rise to Runes, on sale. Smite is usually around, and Fell Seal. What is this? Hand-drawn RPG? Tactics? Tactics games certainly are still viable on Steam. Yeah, this is quite a lot of reviews. If it wasn't in early access, it's been doing quite well. And again, I don't feel like this is especially hooky. It just looks like hand-drawn tactics game. So yeah, if you innovate in the tactics genre, I think you can do quite well. It had a Kickstarter? Ah, okay, that could affect it. The number of reviews it would get. Alright, so now we check out the new and trending to make sure we didn't miss anything. Landinar Into the Void. Alright, let's check these things out. Choose how you want to play what. Okay, so now here's gameplay. Still don't really understand what you do. Alright, Precipice, what the heck is this? Animal humans? Or human animals? This is live action. People who like strategy games and stuff don't usually want them to be goofy. In my opinion, it's strange to use these animals. Looks like it's, must be a reasonably good game. Interesting ideas. With Art Yuppie Psycho. What is this?
Can someone please call an ambulance?
So it's like adventure-ish. All right. Well, it was interesting for sure. Like mysterious. Made you wonder, like, what the heck is this? How does this game work? What's going on in this weird company? It had that going for it for sure. All right, let's see Steger's game. So I think you're going for like a physics hilarity kind of vibe on this one, Steger, which definitely can work these days with streamers and YouTubers, especially if multiplayer. I don't know if you got multiplayer in this. Is it getting over it like only a year late? I see. I'm excited. Presented by Humble Bundle. Oh, there's Hop Frog. I worked really hard on Forager. I hope you love it as much as I do. I think it is super smart to do that. People are going to give you the benefit of the doubt now because they saw your face. And they'll be like, oh, that guy worked hard on it. I'll forgive this bug or design decision or whatever. It's Game Maker this is made in. Yeah, that's another thing is like, you make your game in whatever you want to make it in. It doesn't really matter. You don't need some big, you don't need to learn how to program in C++. You don't need a big AAA engine. You don't need a big team. It's very easy for you as a streamer to talk. Yeah, for sure. Well, it's very like Minecraft in that way. You just like, I need to collect this stuff. Now I'm crafting this stuff. You can talk about what you're doing and why, what your plans are. Easy to read chat. Yep. A lot of things going on you don't understand because it's your first time. The audience already knows. Yeah, that's true. And if you're okay with them backseating you and stuff, then that works. Well, Minecraft is the same. Like, you don't... the game itself doesn't teach you how to play it, really. You have to, like, go and find wikis and things and, friends that can help you understand. Gear, skills. Whoa. Magic, foraging, industry, economy. I think I'll go with foraging. Bing. Oh, and then it spreads out. Oh, wheat. Can we make bread? Level 3. Ho ho, there's the turnip people, or beets. Should I actually kill them? For science. For science. I think in games like this, it's really good to have like multiple overlapping goals. So, like your furnace is making a thing while you are going and collecting other stuff. So there's never any good time to quit because you want the player to have lots of different plans. Short-term plans, medium-term plans, long-term plans, and it always if you can pull that off, then it always feels like, oh, I can't quit now because I'll forget all these things I was going to do, and I'm just about to finish this. I don't want to stop now. I want to see what happens. I mean, we need one more of each. But yeah, that was really fun. The progression was good. I felt like it was a little slow at the beginning where I was like just waiting for iron. But when you do have things like that, it makes it feel more like you earned it. Although in Minecraft, when you're like trying, like I need more coal or something like that, at least then you can just go out and explore further to try to find it. Just dig more until you find it. So I felt a little powerless at some times where I was just like waiting for the iron. But once I unlocked more things and had other stuff that I could work on while waiting for it, then it didn't bother me so much. But yeah, the fact that you had lots of different things you're working towards, more money for unlocking the different lands and the leveling up and the skills to go through, a lot of different choices and a lot of different things to work on. So I guess Don't Starve is probably the closest thing to this then. So this is kind of like a cuter version of Don't Starve. And the way the progression works and the leveling and stuff like that, it's quite different from Don't Starve. So yeah, taking a game or a genre that is known to work, and then the way that Hopfrog developed it, allowing people, streamers and YouTubers and stuff, to play it, watch them hone it and iterate it based on what you've seen them do. And it does further validate the idea that if you have lots of followers and lots of wish lists pre-launch, you can be reasonably confident that your launch is going to go well. And obviously the launch did go extremely well for him. Maybe a bit surprising that it's gone, that it's stayed in the charts, so high in the charts for so long. But I attribute that to like the length of the gameplay. The longer, the more replayable a game is, the more, the higher the retention, the more sticky it will be in the charts. One other thing I did want to point out before we head off is that there's a difference between pre-play virality and post-play virality. I've talked about it a little bit before. This is just the concept that I've come up with that helps me to understand, why games do well, why some games do well and others don't, and how you can predict. So the way I think of pre-play virality is if people, are watching your trailer or hearing somebody talk about your game, just a text description of it or something like that, if that gets them excited and if that gets them to tell other people or gets them to wishlist it, that sort of stuff, I consider that like pre-play virality. And like game hooks like Necrodancer's rhythm dungeon calling and stuff like that, I think help a lot with it. But then you have post-play virality where after someone has played it, are they going to talk about it? If they keep replaying it, you'll see the little pop up in the corner. So and so is now playing Forager on Steam. That sort of thing is post-play virality. Do they play it, for ages and make lots and lots of YouTube videos about it and things like that? I think Forager has really good post-play virality. I think the pre-play virality would be a little harder to quantify because, just the trailers and stuff are good, but they're not. It doesn't have like an obvious hook. So I think it was really good that Hopfrog, instead of just relying on that only, got the word out by getting people the game earlier, and then number one, that helps him to build up wish lists and things like that. But number two, it lets people experience the post-play virality of the game before launch, so you can actually test it before launch. Because most of the time, most games, you can't really tell, is this going to, is it going to flourish after launch because of that post-play content? You can't really tell until you launch it. You can tell a little bit by going to things like packs and whatnot and letting people play it and see how reluctant are they to stop? Are they coming back so that they can play it again? That sort of thing. You can get a bit of a feel for it, but you won't really know until you actually let a large number of people play it and have ability to check gameplay hours, how long they're playing it for, how many sessions and things like that. So I think if you do have this type of game where it's more skewed towards post-play virality than pre-play, then you should do what Hopfrog did, which is, allow people to have it earlier on, test to see how strong, how long people do play it for, see what they're doing, what they're enjoying most, and refining it. Not only do you get to test your assumptions and learn more about the game, but and find the best way to improve it, but you're also building up your followers and your wish lists and stuff at the same time. So, but yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this one. Have a good 3 weeks, chums. This Clark Tank is over.